Muslim Money, and I am doing a thing now, which is I'm just going to be live streaming all the episodes rather than sort of record them and then put them up later. And I'm hoping to eventually build up an audience so people could just join in, ask questions, and things like that. So, for those of you that are new here, this is the podcast about making money and investing, personal finance, simple and easy for Muslims, and also generally just to get Muslims talking about money. This is one thing that I was very sort of confused about. I didn't know too much about. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, in today's episode, I am going to be talking about compounding, which is one of the basic principles of investing. And this is one of the most important lessons, probably the most important thing to know, and this is why everyone needs to be investing. So, compounding is where your money earns you some money, and then then the following year, or kind of you earn money on the money that you originally made, but also the money that you already earned. Now, this doesn't sound like that groundbreaking, but trust me, this is absolutely vital. This is the one thing about investing that everyone needs to know, and it's something that most people don't know. And it needs to be shared out there, especially to Muslims as well. A lot of Muslims don't know how to invest, especially within the Islamic kind of context. And you may be thinking this is a bit like interest. Well, hang on, Iqbal. This is like interest. You put your money into the bank, it gives you 3%, and then the following year you get 3% on your original money plus the other 3%. And I know what you're thinking, but however, there is a way to make money which is halal, and that is through investment returns. So when you invest money into the stock market or something like that, because you are, investing your money, you get rewarded with some of the profits, and that is halal. And that's basically from what I've read. There's lots of Islamic funds out there that will invest for you, and they give money to you, and they've got big Sharia boards and things like that. So typically, what I like to invest in, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, is index funds, Islamic index funds. The way index funds work is they spread your money across a whole bunch of stocks, like hundreds of stocks. And typically with an index fund, you can make something about 7% a year. That's quite a conservative figure. And every year that will then kind of sort of compound. Now, the best way to explain this is by an example. Now, the example I'm showing you, I just want to put it out here. It talks about interest. It's the same sort of thing, but we're not going to be using interest. As Muslims, we don't want to be using interest. And the thing I'm going to be using is from someone called Dave Ramsey. He's quite a famous personal finance sort of person. He's got sort of Christian sort of beliefs and things like that. So some of it does fit in, but there's also things like interest and stuff that which we as Muslims, we sort of try and avoid. So what I'm going to do now is share my screen. So this is one of the great things about sort of live streaming. So I'm just going to share my screen. So hopefully everyone can kind of see this. So it talks about how does compound interest work. If you think about the interest bit, we're just going to be talking about compounding. This is a fantastic article. So I'll make sure I kind of link that below once the live stream is done. So it talks about, interest, but let's just go into a example. So let's say you invest $1,000, which it has here. Just to keep it simple, it earns 10%. They say interest here, but let's say 10% returns a year. So after 1 year, you have 1,100. So that's the original money plus the 10% return that you get, which is $100. So you get 1,100. The second year, if it gives you another 10%, you get 1,210. Now that doesn't sound like much, but however, if we leave it alone, so we've just invested $1,000, that's it, and we just leave it alone, we never touch it again, but we get this 10% sort of return from the stock market. Just to keep the math simple, after 40 years, it will grow to a sum of $53,000. That's with us doing nothing. Now, this is like really mind-blowing. From $1,000, you make all of this money. I know a lot of people think about saving and stuff like that. They can't be bothered. Now, the next example that it goes to, and it has a really nice document about, this one is the one that if there's one thing anyone takes away from today, I want them to take away this. And this is that you have two people. One's called Jack, one's called Blake. Now, let's look into Jack. Jack starts investing at an age of 21 years old, and they invest $2,400 every year. Now, if you divide that by 12, that's $200. $200 a month. So every year they just put in $200 a month, and say they put it into a fund that gives them, I mean, here it says 11.6%, but let's just say, I think on average it's about 7% usually, but let's just go with this example. And then they stop saving that money at the age of 30. So they've literally just stopped. Yeah, they're not investing anymore. They would have invested total £21,600. Now, Blake, who starts investing at the age of 30, so this person starts investing 10 years later. So they're both the same age, but this person starts investing 10 years later. They invest the same amount, but they invest the same amount for 37 years. So they would have contributed $91,200, $91,200. Now, the key difference to know is Jack only invested for about 9 years, whereas Blake has been invested for 37 years. Think about that, people, 37 years. And this document explains it really well. Jack, by the time he's 67, he would have made $2.5 million, and he only invested for 10 years. Blake, who had invested for 37 years, would have made like $1 million less, and he's invested more money. So the key thing to know is compounding is huge, and it's really important to start early. Yeah, you could just invest for 10 years and then you're fine. So that is a key thing people need to realize. It's like the younger you start, the better. If you have kids, great, get them compounding as well. And yeah, if we just sort of scroll down here, it kind of goes into more formulas and stuff like that. But it has some really good sort of action points right at the end. So this article is a fantastic article. And I don't want Muslims to be put off by the fact that it talks about interest. This also applies to just compounding your investment returns as well. So the first thing it talks about is getting out of debt. Now, this is very important. So there's 4 points here. So for those listening on the audio, it's talking about getting out of debt. Now, compounding works really great for you when you've got investment returns, but if you've got debt, it also works against you with debt. So your debt increases exponentially. Just how I showed you your returns can increase in a compound manner, so can your debt as well. So things like credit card debt are like dreadful. They just go on. Another good thing I heard about, they call them like infinite pools. They just go on and on and on. The more you stop paying your debt, it will increase. Then it will increase again in the following month. Then it'll increase again the following month. On a credit card, this is which charge your interest, and they can get out of hand massively. And then with that example with Jake and Blake, so number 2 is start as soon as possible. As soon as possible, you can start investing. That is amazing. Even just invest £5. Seriously, £5, $5. Just start, get into the rhythm of doing it. Get your mind into that. Yeah. And leave it. Just have it all automated, live it, and then see what happens. And then if you get number 3 talks about increasing your contributions every year. So as you start getting older, you generally kind of earn more money. You might come across money through inheritance or just through your side businesses or whatever. But you should try and invest as much as you can, as much as you can. Here it talks about you should invest at least 15%. I would say try to invest at least 10% of your income. Like, don't even see it. Just let it go straight in and just get invested. And then number 4 talks about patience. Now, this is really important. Compounding, the first few years, it takes a while to get going, but once it get going, that machine is like almost impossible to stop, So the longer you can get it going, the longer you can keep it going without getting like antsy and things like that, then the better. So yeah, I just want to say this is a fantastic article. He's got a few more articles as well, which I'm going to sort of check out. Generally, I've just been using this one, but we're very excited to do more sort of live streams like this and see how things go. So yeah, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. So yeah, I'll also be putting these up on my audio sort of podcast as well, so you can listen to them on audio as well. And it's a really easy way for me to just talk about what I love talking about, which is like finance and finding ways in an Islamic halal way that we can invest and do things. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and inshallah I'll catch up with you next time. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.